Carolina Moc Toe Boot has been touted as the best work boot under $200 by lots of people, including some YouTubers like Essential Craftsman, but people say the exact same thing about Thorogood. So today we're gonna cut apart the Carolina Moc Toe Boot to compare these two to see which boot reigns supreme as the best $200 work boot. Do you see this? There's literally 5 wispy little hairs holding this hairline together. And apparently in your 30s, your hairline just slowly starts creeping back without you realizing it. And that's why we reached out to Keeps to sponsor this video. Did you know 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? Well, the best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still got some of these wispy hairs left. And the great thing about Keeps is a licensed doctor will review your information online, recommend the right hair loss treatment for you, then your treatment is shipped directly to your door every 3 months. And you can message your Keeps doctor at any time 24/7 with any questions or concerns, and you can track your progress along the way with the Keeps progress tracking tool. And Keeps is really affordable because they use generic versions of FDA approved medication for hair loss. Keeps treatment typically takes between 4 and 6 months to start seeing results, so it's important to act fast because the sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you're gonna be able to save. So find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any competitors out there and why hundreds of thousands of men trust Keeps with their hair loss prevention. So if you're ready to take some action and prevent your hair loss, go to keeps.com/roseanvil or click the link in my description to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/roseanvil. Thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video. And good luck with this whole thing. People really love the Carolinas and the Thorogoods because they're really comfortable. There's almost no break-in period. They're really reliable, and they always last at least 1 work season. And they have that heritage style with the clean leather uppers that you can wear as a casual outfit, even if you don't want to use these as a work boot. They're just a good looking moc toe boot. But you might notice that these boots are remarkably similar, and so similar that last year we didn't even consider doing the Carolinas because they look so much like the Thorogoods. I thought they were the same company, just under a different name. So in preparation for this video, we did a little digging around, and we found that the Carolina brand is owned by the parent company, the Cove Shoe Company, and Thorogoods owned by the Winebrenner Shoe Company. But a lot of times, 2 different companies will hire the same factory to make a different version of the same boot. But after a little bit of research, we found that the Carolinas are made in Martinsburg, Pennsylvania, and Thorogoods are made in either Merrill or Marshfield, Wisconsin. So they're 2 different factories making 2 different boots for 2 different companies, but they're almost identical. And one really interesting thing about both of these boots is they say they're made in the United States, but with domestic and globally sourced components, which basically means parts of both of these boots were imported from somewhere outside of the United States and built in the United States. But they keep those cards really close to their chest. They don't tell you what parts come from where and how much of it was built overseas. And so it's kind of a big mystery that they don't like disclosing. So let's go over the information we can gather about these boots before we cut them in half to really try to determine which parts come from where before we cut them in half. So let's start with the price. So the Carolinas retail from $195 for this shorter boot all the way up to $205 for this taller boot that I have. Thorogoods used to be in that price point, but recently they've upped the price on a lot of the websites because they don't sell these directly from their site. You have to buy it from a dealer, and those prices have gone up to about $240 to $250. You can still find them for around $205, but they're definitely increasing now. Next to the leather. So this leather, they both call it the exact same name. It's a tobacco stampede leather. It's a chrome tan leather. It's a supple, soft, malleable leather. That's why there's hardly any break-in period with these, and it's the exact same leather. So tie on that one. Next to the lining, so both of these boots only have a lining in the vamp, which is basically the moc toe area, and the Carolinas have a felted material lining, and the Thorogoods have that cotton drill lining that wears out pretty quickly, and sometimes, as we've seen, comes a little bit split straight from the factory. So the Carolinas, I like that lining better. Next to the counter cover, which is something I'm always harping on brands about, the Carolinas have a synthetic polyester counter cover, and the Thorogoods have a nice leather counter cover, and that leather always lasts a lot longer than the synthetic material, so point Thorogoods. Next to the insoles, which are both removable, but the Carolinas it's not a cheap foam, but it's not quite as nice as the Thorogoods that have these little gel spots in here, but they are both replaceable, so you can put in your own lining if you want, but the Thorogoods is better. And then underneath of the insole, both of these boots have a layer of pour-on. They're just 2 different colors, but they're both pour-on. And then to the welt, and the welt on both of these boots are the one thing that I wish they would just upgrade to leather, because they're both a synthetic welt that is known for splitting and cracking. If you saw the last video of the 1,000-mile version of the Thorogoods that someone wore for 1,000 miles, they're split all over the place, making it really hard to resole. but it's the exact same welt. They look identical with the fake stitching, but there is one really important difference between these two boots and how the welt is sewn on, because traditionally with a moc toe boot like the Thorogoods, the welt is sewn to this little rubber midsole, this little white line right there, and then the outsole is glued on. But the problem is, if you're really beating these boots up, sometimes they have the tendency to peel away and this front part of the boot starts to delaminate. So what Carolina has done is they've sewn it regularly to the midsole for the back part of the boot, but at the front you can see it's sewn all the way through the outsole, so that even if it does start peeling away, that stitching is holding everything together. So point Carolinas. And then to the outsole of these boots, and these outsoles are identical because they're both made by the Meramec outsole company that's based in the United States, that produce these in the United States, and they're a polyurethane based outsole that's different from the classic Vibram wedge, which is a rubber based outsole. And people like this polyurethane outsole because it's a longer wearing outsole. It doesn't flake off as much, and it maybe isn't quite as soft, but it does last significantly longer. And that's why Thorogoods calls them the max wear wedge. So I love both these, so point for both. So clearly there are a few differences between these boots, but the majority of the boots are almost identical with the same components and everything. But as you've probably seen from this channel, the outside only matters so much, and sometimes the most important aspects of the boot are on the inside. So we got to cut them in half. Well, at least the Carolinas, because I've already cut 3 pairs of Thorogoods in half from last Mocktober. It was a disaster, but let's get to it. All right, got it cut in half, and that cut went a little skewampy for a minute there, but let's see what's inside it. I thought for sure that these would be identical on the inside, but there are a few differences that really matter. The only thing that's the same that we haven't identified is the fiberboard. It's a fiberboard lasting board all the way through, and maybe the pour-on is a little bit thicker in the Carolinas, but the shank is a completely different material, which surprised me, because the Carolinas have a steel shank and the Thorogoods have a fiberglass shank. The difference is not much when it comes to wearability, but the fiberglass shanks are nice because you don't set off metal detectors. And then the biggest difference is the Carolinas don't have a cork filling. It's just a thin layer of foam, and the Thorogoods have that nice layer of cork that compresses to the shape of your foot and absorbs sweat and is just known as a better material. So I personally would prefer the fiberglass shank and the cork filling of the Thorogoods. So overall, these boots are really nearly identical, and it seems like both brands are using the same suppliers for a lot of the components. And I really think either one of these boots could be considered the best boot in that $200 price range. And a lot of that is because of how simple the construction is. You don't have a cheap lining in here that's gonna wear out, that's unnecessary. Everything that's important in a boot is in this, but everything else is stripped out. And so you just get higher quality materials and higher quality production at a lower price because it's not filled with just fluff and junk and gimmicks. It's a simple, reliable boot. So which one of these boots, in my opinion, is the best boot overall? Based on all the information we just went through, I think Thorogoods are the better boot, but their price has gone up. So depending on what your budget is, if you only have $200 to spend, you might want to go with the Carolinas. But if you got that extra $50, there are some better components in the Thorogoods. But I think the difference is very, very slim when it comes to the actual functionality and the use and the durability of the boots. So in my opinion, that settles the debate between the Thorogoods and Carolinas, because there's always this speculation going on between these two boots. So let me know what you guys think and your personal experience with these boots. And don't forget, next week is the Harley build. I think it's the coolest Harley that's ever been built on YouTube. It turned out so good. You guys are gonna love it. And we're gonna do some giveaways and stuff in those videos. So stay tuned for that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's a 4-part series and it turned out so good. So thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of Moctober. We got some more cool videos coming up. I love Moctober so much. So thank you guys. See ya.